Hello everybody, Silver Picker here, and in today's video we are going to go through all of the pros and cons of whether you should or should not be stacking silver this coming year in 2024. Now, we're going to start with all of the pros, the reasons why you should or might want to invest in precious metals like gold and silver, and then we'll move to the more controversial part of the video and talk about some of the cons why you might not want to invest in precious metals like physical gold or silver this coming year in 2024. But first, I want to turn you all onto my new email newsletter. I just launched the Silver Picker Digest only a few weeks ago, and we already have over 7,000 weekly subscribers and growing. Every single week, I'll send you a roundup of the most important news and updates in the world of coin collecting and precious metals investing, along with tips, deal alerts, and much, much more. If you're interested in subscribing for free, just go to my website, thesilverpicker.com, yes, thesilverpicker.com, and add your email address to the homepage, and bada bing, bada boom, you're signed up just like that. All right, so let's talk about the pros of investing in physical precious metals like gold and silver. In my view, there are 4 distinct pros. The first pro is that gold and silver are excellent hedges against inflation. Now, you've probably heard that like a million times, but what the heck does that actually mean, right? Well, essentially, if you have cash, as inflation rises, the value, the purchasing power of that cash decreases. And if you go back in time and look at, say, 1924, 100 years ago, $1 from 100 years ago in 1924, adjusted for inflation today, is $18 in today's money. So what you would once be able to buy for $1 back then now costs you $18. But let's illustrate this with a silver dollar. Let's look at a 1924 peace dollar, so a $1 face value coin. If you look at the silver value of that coin today, in an uncanny way, it is worth exactly $18. Now, that is absolutely crazy because the math doesn't normally work out that perfectly, but today it does. So while I'm not saying that gold and silver are necessarily excellent investments where your money is going to increase a ton in value, but what it does is it preserves your purchasing power. So if you have a rainy day fund that you normally keep in cash that every single year is losing value due to inflation, maybe consider putting that money into gold and silver so at least you're not losing any money and you're not losing any purchasing power over the course of time. Speaking of like a rainy day or emergency fund that you normally keep in cash, the second pro is basically that gold and silver are excellent for what the prepper community calls an SHTF situation. You know, the zombie apocalypse, some cataclysmic event. I mean, there are countless examples throughout history where gold and silver have really meant the difference between poverty and wealth and even life and death. I mean, the world is a very scary and violent and unstable place throughout history, and right now, I mean, look at Ukraine, look at Israel. There are a lot of examples of serious instability in the world, and all I can say is it ain't a bad idea to have some physical gold and silver at your disposal. The third pro is that if you invest in gold and silver at the right time and the price of gold and silver shoot up, well, you can actually make a really, really nice return on your investment. Now, generally, I'm not interested in investing in gold and silver speculatively, certainly not in the short term, and I think that generally trying to time any market is a loser's game, and I wouldn't advocate for that. But if you're already planning on investing in gold and silver, right, for the long term, it doesn't hurt that there is sort of that bonus where gold and silver can shoot up in value and you can make a nice little profit. The fourth and final pro is probably the most overlooked pro of them all, and that is that investing in physical precious metals is fun. Yes, it is fun. Think of all the different options that are out there. There are beautiful silver art bars. There's historic pre-1933 gold coins. There's all these different interesting silver coins from around the world. There's jewelry. There are silver sculptures. I mean, there are limitless opportunities for you to invest and enjoy while you're doing it. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to find another investment that is actually fun. I mean, it might be fun to trade stocks, but the actual stocks themselves are not enjoyable. And really, don't discount the fact that it's fun. I mean, there's one life to live. You might as well try and enjoy every aspect of it. Now let's move on to the more controversial and honestly probably more interesting part of the video, in which we discuss the cons related to investing in physical precious metals like gold and silver. But before we do, let's focus on one more fun thing, which is Whatnot. It's one of the best ways to buy precious metals and coins. If you don't know what Whatnot is an incredible live video auction platform in which bidders and sellers come together in real time to buy and sell all sorts of cool collectibles. Obviously, I'm mostly into precious metals and coins and currency, but they've got everything. They've got trading cards, sports cards, comic books, video games, even sneakers. Basically, if you collect it, they've got it. And if you use my link to download their app, whatnot.com/invite/silverpicker, not only do you get access to the incredible platform absolutely free, but you also get $15 in Whatnot credit to spend on anything you want. And at all of my auctions, I always have tons and tons of silver coins in the buy it now for $15 or less. So if you come to my auction and you use my link to download the app, you are all but guaranteed to get free silver. Yes, straight up, free silver. So download the app with whatnot.com/invite/silverpicker. Don't miss out, don't sleep on this, because I don't know how long the $15 deal will last. Anyway, let's get back to talking about the cons. In my opinion, there are 6 distinct cons to think about when it comes to investing in precious metals like gold and silver. Uh-oh, right? Well, nothing to worry about yet, because none of them are insurmountable, except maybe the last one. So you're definitely going to want to stick around to hear about that. The first con is that your silver stack is highly susceptible to theft. Think about it. If you invest it in stocks or bonds, unless your account gets hacked, you basically have no worry that anything is going to get stolen. Not so with gold and silver. I mean, if you keep any of your gold and silver on display, or you even keep them in boxes tucked up on a shelf, they're really, really susceptible to home invaders. Well, what about a home safe? Think again. Home safes, unless they are literally gigantic, bolted into the foundation of your house and would need like a forklift to move, they're not safe. They're more like X's on a treasure map, letting would-be thieves know exactly where your valuables are. I do not trust those at all. I basically keep all of my gold and silver at the safety deposit box in the bank, which also has some risks to it, but that's for another video. The second con is that you can actually have your gold and silver stolen from you before you even own it. How is that possible? Well, obviously I'm being a little sarcastic, but because of the massive, massive influx of fake and counterfeit coins, bars, etc., mostly that are coming from China, there is a serious risk to buying fake gold and silver. And that's basically just handing your money over to scam artists or sometimes just unsuspecting sellers. Either way, it's a huge, huge risk, and especially for new investors. But even advanced investors can sometimes make a mistake. So, of course, this is not insurmountable, right? The best way to combat this is through learning. Get out there, experience, see what real coins, real bullion, real bars look like, and compare it to known fakes. Learn as much as you can, learn the different methods for testing it, and you should be fine. But it always still is a risk out there. The third con, which admittedly is not that big of a deal, but is still a negative and downside nonetheless, is that silver is really heavy and takes up a lot of room. I mean, look around YouTube at people's full stack videos. They're huge. They could weigh over 100 pounds. And if you are investing in silver in the event of like a SHTF situation, what are you going to do? If your family needs to book it out of town quickly, you're going to take 100, 200 pounds of silver with you? Very, very unlikely. Personally, I had that realization about 1.5 years ago, and I actually made a massive trade of almost my entire silver stack and traded it for gold. So that's a solution, obviously, but it depends on what you're actually interested in. I'm curious, have any of you else had that realization and decided to shift from silver into gold? If you have, let me know in the comments. The fourth con is that silver is really volatile. Gold less so, but silver can be really, really volatile, and depending on your investment time horizon, you could end up putting yourself in a real pickle. I mean, if you're 18 years old and you're putting a little bit of money into silver every month because you want to build a long-term big nest egg for your entire life, then the volatility isn't going to really matter very much. But if you're 65 plus and living on a fixed income and you're buying silver and all of a sudden it drops from $20 an ounce to say $12 an ounce, which by the way has happened before in a matter of weeks and months, then you could really find yourself struggling because of that decision. So obviously, this isn't something that's insurmountable, and you could obviously either invest in gold, which is less volatile, or if you do invest in silver, make sure that you're buying it over a long period and that you're not sort of speculating on it or holding it for short periods, because then that volatility could really come and bite you, you know where. The fifth con also has to do with sort of buying and selling in the short term, and that is slippage. Slippage refers to when you're selling gold or silver that you might actually lose a little bit of money due to the actual expense of selling it. So if you have to sell quickly, like let's say you bought a bunch of American Silver Eagles and you paid the normal price, but you have to sell them really quickly, well, you might have to sell them to another dealer as opposed to an investor, or you might have to find another way to sell them quickly and you'll have to take a slightly lower price. So the actual cost of selling those can impact your overall ROI. And think about if you have to sell on eBay, for instance, or another platform. Well, there's eBay fees, there's shipping fees. All of those can be counted as slippage where you're actually going to incur some costs from the actual selling. Now again, this is indeed a con, but it's not insurmountable, especially if you focus your investment of precious metals in a long enough time horizon where you're not pressured to sell and you can take your time and really try and get the best deal possible and minimize the slippage as much as possible. The sixth and final and most important con when it comes to investing in precious metals is, of course, opportunity cost. Now, I've given you a lot of good reasons to invest in gold and silver, whether it is to preserve wealth, to be a hedge against inflation, to have a rainy day / SHTF emergency fund. Those are all good reasons. But if your general rule about investing is that you want to make the most money possible and you want to guarantee yourself the biggest growth of your money over time, well then gold and silver might not be the right investment for you. For example, if you compare gold and silver to investing in the stock market, most of the time, historically, the stock market has grown at a much faster rate and a much more steady rate than gold or silver. I mean, compare gold, for example, to the S&P 500. Over the course of time, you would make a lot more money investing in the S&P 500. And if that's your ultimate goal, then it's probably best to invest in an S&P 500 ETF and call it a day. And given the fact that we have limited funds, right? If I put $1 into silver, that's $1 I can't put elsewhere. So it's really, really important to decide how you want to invest your money and for what reasons. For me, I actually don't invest in gold and silver as much as most of my viewers think. About 5 to 7% of my entire net worth is in precious metals. The rest is spread out among other types of investments. Because for me, my goal for investing in precious metals is, again, having a rainy day fund, money that I would ordinarily have in cash, I'd rather have in precious metals because it fights against inflation, right? So that's the main thing. And then also as an emergency fund for, those SHTF situations. And of course, as a collector, I also enjoy it, and it is a hobby for me in addition to being an investment. So having less than 10% of my net worth in gold and silver gives me a really nice sort of like insurance policy when it comes to precious metals, and it gives me good exposure to precious metals, but it doesn't take away from my opportunities to invest in, say, my Roth IRA or in other retirement accounts or in other more lucrative investments. Maybe that surprises you, being the silver picker and all, but I always want to come to you with the best information I can. Again, I am not a financial advisor. This isn't financial advice. It's just my own opinion and telling you my own thoughts about precious metals as someone who really, really cares about gold and silver. So anyway, I really had a lot of fun making this video, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think. What's your strategy on stacking silver and gold compared to your other investments? Let me know in the comments below, and I make videos like this every single week about precious metals investing, personal finance, coin collecting, of course. And if you like that, you best hit that big old red subscribe button. While you're down there, throw me a like, because I make videos like this every week. It's a lot of fun, and I got a lot more awesome stuff coming down the pike, so stay tuned, and until then, Silver Picker out. A huge, huge thank you to all of my wonderful patrons. If you're not yet a patron, join the Patreon, the links are below, and you'll get access to my private Discord group in which all sorts of collectors come together to talk shop, talk coins, and just have a good time.